Yes, let's go. Yeah, welcome everyone to the first episode of the Weekly Wizard. This will be a show that's mostly focused on shedding a spotlight on all of our great Dune Wizards and creators. And I'm really happy to have Hildobby here, by far our most notorious and one of the most active Dune Wizards at the moment. So yeah, thank you for coming on. I guess, can I call you Dobby? Is that like...
Yeah, yeah, Dobby. Well, Dobby's my surname. What people call me here, so you
Okay,
can call me Dobby, of course. But yeah,
all right.
hi guys. Super nice to be here. Yeah, happy to kick off the podcast.
Yeah.
Privilege
And
to be the first invitee.
yeah, it's a privilege for us to have you here, really. Um, so basically, what I think what we'll do here is like I'll ask you a few personal questions, and like if they are too personal, like feel free to not answer, since we're still like in crypto and people are like you should be careful with your personal information, I guess. Um, then we'll get into like Dune a bit, and in the end, like I'll ask you a few questions about like general market, whatever. Um, so yeah, like I think a good like question to start this off really is like how did you get into Dune? Like what made you like produce your first Dune dashboard?
That's a good question. I think I started my Twitter account not really knowing what I just wanted to have a voice in crypto and didn't because before I had my main account where it's under my name and everything, but I didn't really comment or tweet or anything, and I wanted to have this voice, but I wanted to start anonymous and have the option afterwards to dox myself rather than be locked into an already doxed place, I guess. So that way I could, if I mess up, just forget about it. Turns out, luckily, I didn't too bad. I didn't do too bad, so I'm lucky. And then I found out about Dune, and I'm a big data guy, so I started playing around with it. I didn't know SQL at all at first, so I started forking some queries, and I have had no idea what it meant or anything. And I think the first few queries I was just forking and changing the contract, and for me, there was like that's super cool. Like you can have live data, and so that's how I started. And then gradually I learned and learned, and yeah, I just keep on learning. I'm still not. I still don't know everything. I still have a loads to learn, but learning every day and progressing as I go, forking and then sharing, and yeah, that's how I started, I guess. And also, I think what kept me going was at first I was just sharing dashboards and I didn't get much out of it. But then people said, "Oh, we actually like your work. Would you like to make a dashboard for?" Usually it's NFT projects, and so getting a bit of ETH out of making a dashboard definitely keeps you going, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Sounds like a good life. So what was the like but like what was the first dashboard that you actually like put out on Twitter, and like what made you do that? Like was it like you like saw an opportunity, or was it like some kind of freelance gig, or was it just like you experimenting or like trying to find like answers to questions you had yourself?
First, I didn't. I started with just queries and playing around. I wasn't. I didn't go straight into make a dashboard. I was playing around and seeing like kind of the capabilities of this, and yeah. So I was exploring, and then eventually, I have no idea what my first dashboard is, but it wasn't a gig or anything. It was just me just trying out stuff and sharing it.
Yeah.
I think it might have been from like a project called Unibright, where which is a cryptocurrency project, and which I think is pretty cool. But I think that's the first dashboard I made, and I was talking to the most of the community on Telegram, and they said, "Oh, that's pretty cool. Can you add this? Can you add this?"
Mhm.
And that's how I learned at first.
Okay. So you were just following your curiosity, basically. Like you were already like
Yeah,
kind of like looking at Unibright, and then you were like, hey, like let's actually look at
yeah,
this data like on chain, like what's actually happening here.
yeah. I think my main approach, which has always been the case, is if I can't find data on something, I'll try to come up with it myself. And that was the case then, and it still is for most of my work, or at least, uh, well, at least like some of the things are available, but either under a paywall or or they're just not as easy to navigate through. And yeah, so that's my main approach. Is if I want something and I would be a user for something, I might as well build it.
Yeah, be the change you want to see in the world. Unearth the data. Yeah, cool. Like, what's your background that you're able to, like, I guess, like, fairly quickly, like, figure out like how Dune works and like how the whole blockchain space works?
So I started. I did a bachelor in general science, and then after this bachelor, I did an internship in a company called Kaiko, which focuses on data provision for central exchange trade data and order book data. And that was my kind of it was the first time I explored into just cryptocurrency data. I didn't really know much before. And yeah, and I think so the internship, I loved it and everything, but I wanted to do a master's afterwards, which is what I'm currently doing, and doing a master's in computational science. So it's all around modeling, and yeah, so that's in the process. And yeah, in the meantime, I kept being curious on cryptocurrency and following uh, the whole space on Twitter, and eventually wanted to have a voice, and then found out about Dune.
Yeah. Dune was basically, yeah, it amplifies your voice a lot, I guess, because you can actually, like,
Yeah.
hey guys, like, here's the truth. Like, here you go. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting story. So I guess, like, from, like, how many months ago did you start, like, doing stuff on Dune? Like, is it like 6, 7? Is that, like, somewhere in the ballpark?
Let me check. I think it says Wizard since April 2021, so almost closing in on the year, I guess.
Yeah, time flies.
Yeah, but I like it took a while for me to kind of actually publish what I would consider decent content. And uh, yeah, at first I was just playing around and did some random stuff, and but eventually I think I started getting more popularity since like maybe September, October.
Yeah, I
Were,
think you
were you
all. Oh, go ahead, Thomas.
I was going to say, were you dedicating like a lot of your free time and stuff towards learning and to making these early dashboards?
Yeah, yeah, more than I would be more than I want to admit. But I put a lot of time into them, and yeah, it took a lot of time because I didn't know. Well, instead of going with the easy approach of actually learning MySQL and everything, I just was trying to be like, okay, I'll figure this out by actually doing it. And then it was, well, obviously problem on problem all the time, and it's the longest way to do it. So don't do this. And yeah, so it took me a while.
Right. Definitely paid off. And how about do you recommend that approach to people who want to improve themselves, or do you recommend they take a bit of a more traditional route?
I think, well, when I started, there wasn't necessarily as good of a resource to actually like get up and started on Dune. Whereas now I think was it like the
The
class
30 for 30 course we did with our network. That's
exactly. Yeah, this is a really good resource, and if anyone wants to start out, I recommend actually watching those and yeah, actually starting the proper way, which is getting taught by someone else what's actually going on, rather than trying to hack your way through it, because you're most likely gonna lose a lot of time rather than actually learn. And yeah.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I guess that's a good introduction. And I guess next up, like, what are you, like, working on at the moment, and what excites you about the, like, dashboards that you're working on?
So I'm working on since like 10 days ago. I've started working on something called LooksRare. I don't know, probably a lot of you have heard of it, but it's a NFT platform. And yeah, I made a few dashboards and started with, I think one of my more like one of the things that got me more popular is my airdrops dashboards, where I get to make something you can easily track, like kind of the status of how many were claimed, how many of the tokens were claimed, how many are left, how many addresses claimed, and all these kind of things. And so I did one for Looks, and I can actually get through those super quickly because it's just a matter of copying my code and changing one contract.
Yeah.
Or like two contracts and then the supply and whatever. But it's pretty quick, so I can get them out pretty quickly. And then I did that, I think, a few hours after they actually announced the platform. And then I thought, okay, this is actually interesting. Like I read into the docs and saw the platform had actually pretty good potential. So I thought I want to analyze this and started making, I think I started with a comparison to OpenSea data. So that's the
Can we
next
just
dashboard I did.
can you share your screen and we can just
Yeah.
quickly dig into those
actually,
things?
That may
Because
be a little easier,
talking
right?
about charts is always like we could
Okay,
try to replicate them, like bit hard.
TP, blah, blah, blah. All right. Can you see this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is, okay, I'm going to start with. This is the first I started with when it loads. Yeah. So this is just tracking the claim process of the Looks token. Pretty standard, pretty basic. Not a lot to it, but I think it's straightforward and easy to understand, which is what a lot of people want to see.
Yeah.
And it kind of copies on some other dashboards I did, which are the
Yeah, your airdrop dashboards must have gotten you like so many views as well, right?
Yeah,
like,
this one is.
What's the reach for these tweets on Twitter? Like I'm always just seeing that you get like a ton of retweets there, and like what's the actual like numbers?
Well, I can check actually, but let me check. Okay, wait, I need to dig in though.
I did that like I think Christmas 2020. I did that for like the 1-inch airdrop. Yeah. And I think I got something like 70,000 views or something. But that was like the space was way smaller. So I think for that time that was a lot. But yours are probably like.
I mean, that's also insane. I think.
Yeah, it was a lot. But I think you probably like you must have more.
Let me check. So LooksRare. No. That's LooksRare.
Like just the impressions.
I got the tweet. It loads. 163K. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
that's
a lot of reach.
Yeah.
But so this one, actually, the ENS one was, I think, my first like kind of breakout where it was shared a lot, and yeah, it was for quite a while, and I think up until maybe 3 days ago, it was my most popular dashboard until my general NFT secondary market overtook it, I think. So this one was pretty big for me. But yeah, then I got the Looks airdrop, which, like I said, it's mostly just forking queries, and which is kind of the beauty of Dune. And I added some stuff, but it's mostly the same.
Yeah.
And then
can you walk us through this real quick, like just for like people who are like totally unfamiliar with like what's happening here? Like, can you just quickly describe the context and then like what the numbers on the dashboard actually show?
Yeah, of course. So those three numbers are just, I think that just select the number and there's not much going on. It's just I found the numbers in the documentation. That's like that's actually not what Dune is designed for, but it's a hack.
Yeah, well, it works really well. So whatever.
Yeah. So that's just I found this in the documentation. It's way easier to track this way for such a number than actually go on chain and try to count. Because I don't actually know how I would do that.
Yeah, I think you would have to like get the state of the Merkle tree. Like it's complicated stuff. Like
yeah, exactly. So it's just like when something is too complicated and you have an easy way, just do the easy way. There's no point.
Yeah.
And this is going to remain true forever. There's nothing that's going to change about it unless they happen to do a second airdrop or whatever. But whatever. But yeah, that's how I do it. I also did it for these two, and to make it more readable, instead of having tons of zeros, I just put a 1 and then add. So if you look into this, oh wait, no, this actually this one I actually tracked. Okay, so yeah, I divided by power of 9 and put a B next to it so that you know it's 1 billion.
Yeah, I see.
Makes it easier to read at a glance. Same for 120 million. And then these.
I don't think we like Thomas. Can you see his mouse? I don't see a mouse.
Oh, you don't see my mouse?
No, I don't. Like I don't.
Oh, I cannot see it.
Okay. I'll just click on the queries and explain them.
Yeah, it's all right.
You can see the title being highlighted, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, or just like if you mark stuff, I guess we will see that too.
Yeah. So this, no, maybe looks claim first. So this is probably an easier one. I don't know, it may look a little scary, but it's not much. It's just counting how many tokens were on the Merkle airdrop address, and just counting from the original date how many have been taken out. So it's just taking from ERC20 transfers, trying to see how many moved out of this address. And then I have a whole bunch of stuff. I don't use all of it, but I'm also able to get the addresses. So how did I do this again? Yeah,
I don't think we need to go down to like a query level. I think like contextual and like conceptually, just what you're doing is like I think that's a better avenue to go down.
Yeah, with a count and all the basic formulas, I can get a bunch of things out of ERC20 transfers.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I use it for. And then if you simply put this number, like the number in the middle, which is this one, and divide it by the number of eligible addresses, you get the percentage. And same for the looks claimed over the total available.
Yeah.
And also did it over time. So this is the two graphs below with those two graphs are the same, but with a time constant where it's actually ordered by hour. It makes it, you can see the kind of historical process of that claims. And then these two are, I wanted to see if stuff changed based on the number of, because you had different tiers for this airdrop. So all these below, 125, 200, 400, blah, blah, blah. And so I wanted to see how many were able to claim this kind of this number of tokens, and that's how you can see in the graph to the left. And then on the right, you have with the percentage of those eligible that have claimed. So obviously, the bigger the airdrop, the more likely you are to claim, because it's just a bigger sum of money.
Yeah.
And so that's why the bigger airdrops have a higher percentage of claims.
And it's also like people are more likely to be like very involved in the space, right? Like if you if you fill in the criteria for like getting an airdrop worth what, like I don't know, $10,000, like you're probably like more engaged and you actually notice that this airdrop is like there for you.
That's very true. Yeah. So yeah, but that's just some stats, not necessarily the most useful, but I think it's cool to look into. And then this is not really a useful chart, to be honest, because it's just it's the latest claims, but since Dune only reloads you might need to correct me on this, I think automatically every 3 or 4 hours when you load a query or a dashboard, it's actually, well, this one is a little out of date, but you can manually rerun it.
Yeah.
And
3 hours is the auto update.
Yeah, exactly. But and you can also search for an address and see when that one claimed and how much.
Yeah.
That's probably the best use of this table. But yeah, that's mostly it for this dashboard. And then I thought, okay, what do people actually want to see. I think they're curious into seeing what this platform, how it fares against the current behemoth that is OpenSea, which is kind of where the whole market is at. So that's what this dashboard is, and it's my most popular of my looks and LooksRare ones. So definitely had demand for it. And yeah, I try to. The thing is, a lot of people want to compare a single metric and attribute it to the kind of holy grail of metrics. So it's usually either a TVL, so total value locked, when a protocol allows for it, or volume generated. But I don't think that's the whole picture. I think there's a lot more to explore, and that's what I wanted to show. So I put volume first because that's what people are curious about. I put it in the daily charts as well as hourly. But then I wanted to explore the other metrics, which are, in my opinion, just as important, if not more. And especially here, I think if we dig into the data, they may be more revealing than the volume one. The user count. So I'm just counting the single number of addresses that I've either sold or bought an NFT on either of the platforms by day and by hour. And then the transaction count, because a user can make just multiple transactions or
So what is the story that this data tells us? Like if you look at the volume, like it looks like LooksRare is absolutely smashing it. But then like if you look at the actual user count, like what's actually happening here? Like I think like a lot of like probably some people who are listening are like not familiar with like the whole spiel that LooksRare is doing at the moment. So if you could like explain that by using the data real quick, I think that would be very insightful.
Yeah, I agree. So kind of like to understand this, I think it's important to understand why this data is like this. And the main reason, in my opinion, is that there is LooksRare's model has a token behind it, and for there's a users of the platform are rewarded with Looks tokens. So that's why you're kind of incentivized to actually trade on the platform. However, the more you trade on the platform, the more you're getting a share of the available tokens every day. And that's why the volume is so high. It's because a select few people have a lot of ETH available to kind of wash trades and get more tokens out of the entire supply that way.
Yeah.
So the user count for now isn't as high as LooksRare's ambition is, I guess, because I think the platform, while it really rewards, it's transacting on LooksRare is definitely more beneficial than on OpenSea for a user, but the UI and UX currently isn't on par. So, for example, I think one of the more prominent features people want when trading NFTs is sorting the collections by price, listing prices. And this isn't yet available on LooksRare, just the same as lowering listing prices isn't available yet. And I think these two make for a huge reason why people haven't switched over. From what I'm reading, the team is working on those, and I kind of expect to see a bit of volume flow from OpenSea to LooksRare when that's there, because then there won't be as much of a UI UX problem, and the reward it'll still be more rewarding for users to actually transact on LooksRare. Is that clear?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Can you quickly hover over the daily user numbers and like?
Yeah.
So we are currently at.
So yeah, it's 1 to 70 almost.
Okay, I see. And like it like from the looks of it, I mean, it's like in such a low number range that it's like any day could like be a good day for LooksRare, I guess. But it looks like it's even declining, like even in the like little numbers they have.
Yeah.
Like today it's only Yeah, this number is not this. Yeah, these numbers are not complete yet because the day is
Yeah.
like still young.
Well, yeah, true. Well, I think the initial few days obviously had more training because people were like, oh, wait, we get free
Yeah.
money, might as well try. And that's the kind of thing. And then there's the kind of realization, wait, actually, the easier to trade on OpenSea for now.
Yeah.
So maybe a few actually made that realization and switch back and be like, okay, well, wait for LooksRare to actually improve and check back then. But yeah, no, I agree. For now, it's stagnant to declining. But yeah, it's just I put it as mostly the UI UX being the reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, and
How
also
well
one
positioned
thing.
do you?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, how well positioned do you think they are against OpenSea in the long run?
That's a very it's very hard to say because the LooksRare team is super transparent and have shown to basically respond to feedback on Twitter, on their Discord. They even have, which I think it's the first project I've seen have this, is that they have a public Trello dashboard where they share all the current bug fixes and all the current just new stuff they're implementing and the progress of those. And they're also sharing for like on the regular, they're sharing a kind of change log every 3 days or so, which is stuff I've never seen OpenSea doing, and is one of the main critiques of OpenSea users is just that they're asking for stuff to be implemented or changed, and they just don't get any answers. Not that they're necessarily right that it should be implemented, but I think users deserve at least an answer or to know what's going on. And yeah, so I think in terms of in this way, and like I think transparency is super important in Web3 and a key factor in, well, blockchain, the whole decentralization thing, and trust as well. And yeah, but also for OpenSea's to OpenSea's defense, they're like huge. They have huge scaling to actually work on. And a few months ago, they weren't really that big, and just the market just exploded, and they didn't really have much time to prepare for it. So it's a small team trying to scale quickly, and that's very hard. Um, so I'm actually excited to see how they react to all this. And I saw yesterday they just acquired the Dharma wallet. I mean the Dharma team. Um, so yeah, I'm excited to see how they respond. But my main thing is I would like to see more transparency from OpenSea and more communication.
Yeah, so basically the battle is still yet to be won. I guess
Yeah,
I think OpenSea's network effects they can't be underestimated. Like everybody, like especially like people who are not as deep inside of the crypto space, like for them OpenSea and NFT are like one and the same thing. Like they might not even be aware that there is other marketplaces out there. And I think
yeah,
that
I agree.
actually makes a good pathway to your like you have a dashboard on like just the general NFT market. And if we could
Yeah,
quickly take a look at that, because I think this is the most insane like statistics I've ever seen about like pretty much like market
yeah.
dominance of one player.
So I think the chart you're referring to is this one, where uh, this tracks. So there's Dune has a table that is constantly being worked on and updated, and that how do you say it? How
We aggregate,
no, yeah,
standardize.
aggregate. Yeah, exactly, aggregate, normalize, standardize the all NFT trades across the major NFT platforms, which are these six right now. So
Mhm.
OpenSea, LooksRare, Lava Labs, Rarible, Super Rare, and Foundation. And it's a really good table. And this entire dashboard I made is basically centered around that table. I think it might just be other than the maybe price prices. It may just be the only table used here. But yeah, here it's interesting to see the market share based on the volume generated by each platform. It only shows the past year, so just 1 year from when exactly the query was last run. So right now it's just mid January, and you can see that a year ago OpenSea wasn't as big as it is now. Actually, CryptoPunks with Lava Labs was a huge part of the market, and then we also had Rarible that I think also dropped that token, and actually had user incentives to trade on the platform because I think they were rewarded, but I'm not entirely sure, so I don't want to say.
Yeah, they were.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, and the market evolved super quickly, and then just OpenSea completely swallowed the market. And until a few days ago, it took 95% of the market, which is complete market dominance. No, like it was up to a week ago, and still now, the when you wanted to trade an NFT, it wasn't really a question of where. Like unless you're doing a CryptoPunk where you have to do it on Lava Labs, I think OpenSea is definitely the way to go, and I don't see many people disagreeing with this. So it's really interesting to actually see LooksRare come in. Now, volume isn't everything, especially here where we have worse trades, like I said before. So this kind of skews this chart a little, where LooksRare is completely swallowing.
Maybe do you have the total volume just stacked on top of each other somewhere? Probably, right?
Yes, I do.
So I think or like grouped by.
Yeah. So these are the volume charts. I've got 6 of them. The reason being that on the left, the 3 on the left are per platform. So I divided the columns per platform and stacked them up. And on the right is just the total of the entire market.
Yeah, but then I think this is a very good example of like you can shape data, or like you can tell the story that you want with data. And like if you look at the chart on the right, you're like, holy shit, volume is absolutely exploding in the NFT market. But then if you actually like break it down and you know of the context of like LooksRare is currently like incentivizing wash trading pretty much, or incentivizing trading, but it ended up being like incentivizing wash trading, then the story is like a completely different one.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. And I think one of my main goals in general when I share data is try to stay as like unbiased as possible and try to share the data without saying, oh, look, this shows this one's better, or just I try to say, okay, this is the fact. Then I will share that, and then I have other tweets where I'm biased. I'm very bullish on LooksRare. I think it's a great thing. We'll see how it goes, but that's my opinion. But I don't want people to actually take my opinion as the fact. I want them to look at the charts and conduct their own analysis and work from there rather than be biased from them.
Yeah. Not financial advice, obviously.
Oh no, yeah, no, never. Not even.
So I think like looking at this like total stacked volume chart, it seems very apparent that like LooksRare doesn't seem to be like they've not captured any volume from OpenSea, but rather like the OpenSea numbers look about the same as they looked before. So all that has happened is basically like LooksRare is incentivizing wash trading, and a lot of people are using this wash trading mechanism or this trading mechanism to acquire more looks for themselves. So I just think that's like important to say. If you're looking at this data, like you can clearly see that OpenSea is not dropping in volume, and it's only like LooksRare being stacked on top. So there's something like fishy, or like because like in a like usual like market scenario where there wouldn't be incentives, like you would expect OpenSea to drop some market share and LooksRare to gain some. So that's exactly. Just like thrown in here, and like I think this is also like this is the power of like Dune and like looking at data. Like if you just like if you go to the website of LooksRare, or if you look at their Twitter feed, it's like, oh yeah, we're distributing like this and like a shit ton of ETH because like the platform is earning and redistributing those fees to the Look stakers. But then if you look in reality, like the platform is basically paying people to trade on the platform to push these numbers up like artificially. And we'll yet have to see like if LooksRare can really like make an impact and like really take market share from OpenSea, or if it's like if it's a failed vampire attack in the end, basically.
Yeah, which there was actually a platform called Infinity that tried to do a vampire attack on I think a few months ago, and I don't think they've done this well because they try to say, okay, all OpenSea users are eligible for tokens. So a vampire attack doesn't mean you actually succeed. It's not because you drop a token that you succeed. I think it actually has to be also better. But it's definitely interesting to see this because it's a big shift in, like, it was just OpenSea before, and it's interesting to see a new player in this space, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how that shapes up, and and also for these two charts, I didn't do it for the daily because I'll explain why. But I have a forecasted, which is basically it's extrapolating the data of, okay, how much has there been on average per day so far this week, and just extrapolating and seeing, adding on top of the current volume, and that's the estimate. But that's all it is. There's no complex mass no more complex mass behind it. I didn't do it for daily because why did I? Because I'm not sure that I haven't looked into it, but I'm not sure that the sales is actually uniform throughout the day, based on just time zones and everything. So I didn't want to do this. It's also a much smaller data sample, so I think it's way too skewed and could completely skew the data to something that's unrealistic. I think for weekly and monthly, it's a little more, fair, more fair of a comparison.
Yeah, that seems very reasonable.
Yeah. And then I also have a cumulative chart that's just the same as those charts, but added up. You can see the weekly volume, but the blue line will highlight the total volume, and that's the same. It should match here in ETH, then here in dollars. I also have OpenSea's market share, which, like I said before, was 95% up to a week ago. But it's, yeah. And then but the goal, and if anyone has anything you guys think I should add to this dashboard, by the way, feel free to tell me, DM me on Twitter, and my goal is to have it as complete as possible and make sure it just includes as good as of an overview as everything as possible, considering everything. So those are the volume charts. Then I have buyers and sellers. So in the LooksRare versus OpenSea, I had just users, but you can actually break it down into buyers and sellers. So that's just the cumulative count, the count of buyers and sellers per day. And then I also have this chart, which is the same, but I don't count those people who both bought and sell on the same day as two. I just count them as one. So that's the unique count of traders, whereas this is the unique count of sellers and buyers. Same again, I have this for daily. I was asked to make this chart into line chart to make it more readable, so that's what I did. I have the weekly and monthly. And then finally, the same before transaction counts, and that's broken down the same way the volume charts are, where broken down by platform and then in total.
Well, yeah, if you look at the transaction count, maybe you should you have this market share counter at the top, and maybe you should do one market share by volume and one market share by just sheer transaction size. Because if you look at this, there's no second best. There's only OpenSea. This is the absolute winner in the market, and I think that's a very interesting like yeah, again, like it's just interesting to like look at the different like aspects of the data that we actually have on chain and really try to make sense of them that way. And one more thing that just came to mind is like, if we're talking about traders or unique wallet, like it's always like unique wallets is like how I've lost words. I'm thinking of the code symbol. Like unique wallets are not equal to like unique users, and I think that's also like it's always hard. I think like in the NFT space, like it's actually more likely for people like to be like one wallet, one user. I think that's like that happens more often in the NFT market than it does in the DeFi market, because in DeFi it's like a lot of people are OGs. Like we have all been like farming airdrops since like 2020, and it's like a lot of people just have a lot of wallets. And in NFT, I think there's actually like quite a few like I don't want to call them normies, but like there's like newer people entering into the market, and like I think they won't have like 3 different wallets. Like so I don't know, like what's your idea about like how would you discount this? Like what's the like how, like I don't know, is there a ratio of like 1 to 3 of like wallets to people, or like I don't know.
Well, that's the $1 million question. I don't know. Because I definitely agree with you, because the cryptocurrencies also, you don't necessarily want people to know how much you own in cryptocurrencies. Whereas NFTs, the kind of, I mean, half of the purpose is kind of probably show it off and say, okay, I own this one, and you can actually track it on chain and see that's mine. So I definitely agree with you where people are more likely to have a single wallet for NFTs than for cryptocurrencies. But then how to quantify how many on average? I mean, I don't know how you would even track that. Probably something could be done by Zapper has you can track your wallets, but you can actually aggregate them into packages saying, okay, these are like my wallets. So you could have them actually crunch data and say, okay, based on our users, because I'm guessing they have solid user
They
base.
are probably they are probably like they're like DBank and Zapper, they're probably like very good like indicators, but they like obviously they don't share the data. But yeah,
Exactly.
that would be that. And like yeah, maybe as like we are people working in the industry, so it's like we naturally like tend to be like on the very like far edge of like tech and whatever, and like it's like if I would go from myself, it's like I would divide this by quite a high number. But like I don't know how it looks like on the like ground floors basically of like the new people coming in, like how many wallets do they have? Like I don't know. It's a really tough question, and it's one I've been asking myself like since the DeFi days.
I think if someone has a method for it, please tell me, and I'll try to.
Yeah,
It's like
I
a
think
method
we
to
would.
identify.
Yeah, I think we would need like a sample size data set of like, like just have like 20,000 wallets and see like how many people do actually own these wallets. And then we could just like make general assumptions, but it's very hard to like get to those numbers, I guess. We could start like whole long discussion around this now. It's like how many people do visit like Zapper in a day? I guess that's a good, like how many unique users does Zapper have in a day? And then, or like how many people do visit OpenSea, and then how many people do actually trade? I don't know, man. It's really tough.
Well, you could. The thing is, I did another dashboard for another NFT platform, and I was tracking the users for based on the number of people who traded, and the guys who told me, well, actually, can't you track people who signed? And I said, well, no, I cannot. I just can't. And also, I think I'm not like I've checked out hundreds of websites in crypto, but that doesn't make me a user for them. It's not because I've connected my wallet that I'm a user. I think it's more fair to actually say people who have transacted and have used are users. So but there's always kind of a gray area. There's no defined answer to what defines as a user. For example, Zapper, you can use it just to check your holdings. regularly, but you can also, they had quests that you can complete and go through, and then you have NFTs that you can claim when you make quests. So where is the user in that? It's kind of, I mean, it's up to you to judge, I guess. And that's the same for a lot of protocols that don't just have a single purpose.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's really hard to actually like measure all of these. And then like I think there's this project Bright ID where it's they're actually like verifying like the guys from Rabbit Hole. They are using them to like try to prevent Sybil farming of their airdrops or their like reward systems. So that's actually like, I think you verify that you are a person once, but it's still like kind of anonymous. But it's like you can't verify yourself on two wallets. So yeah, that's like an interesting system. Yeah, we'll have to see like how to interpret these numbers. But it's like in general, like if number go up. It's like even though like it's not the actual users, like you can still say like if the numbers of Rarible are lower than the numbers of OpenSea, because like we are all working in the same context, right? So I guess you can still like use these numbers because they work in the same context. But for some, there's deep philosophical like questions to be had here, because like now I'm thinking like maybe like if a DeFi protocol has 100,000 users and if OpenSea has 100,000 users, then I would say like OpenSea by far has more like real users than the DeFi protocol, because it's just like it's a different subset of people interacting with these protocols, and like the one is more likely to have more wallets. But man, whatever.
Yeah. No, yeah, but it's super hard to. I think these protocols are maybe on the easier side to compare. The same way you can compare different bridges, token bridges. I think there's great dashboard on this that you should check out. Just look for bridges, L1 bridges, I think.
Bridge away.
Bridge away, yeah. Sorry. But then there's all the rest, especially cryptocurrency. No two protocols are the same, because if there was, then the second one would probably not be relevant if there's already one. So there's always some differences, and it's kind of hard to compare them. But even here, you can see that volume isn't necessarily the metric to look into, because LooksRare has a different context for that volume. So make sure to actually, when you try to analyze something, try to see all the angles you can see and actually understand the data and why it is like this, rather than just say, okay, this chart shows LooksRare is actually dominating the market and everything, and because that's just part of the story and only based on one metric. But yeah, and I'm actually looking into a method to try to understand the volume better and kind of split it into. I think my main goal for now is having 3 sections, where would be like 99% probability of this volume being real trades, 99% probability of this volume being from wash trades, and then kind of the gray area where it's hard to determine, but the goal would be to get that gray area to a minimum amount and actually have them split between the two. But this is also, I'm making a lot of assumptions there. I won't share this until it's ready, but it's what defines a wash trade. Then that's a whole other question. It's hard to determine exactly what it is and how to track it on chain. And I think we all have varying definitions for it.
Yeah, it's like and like putting that into formula. I think like if you give me like a minute to figure out like is this likely to be a wash trade, like I would probably figure it out. But it's like putting that into like a SQL statement where you're like how am I gonna like case when like the average price of this NFT or the floor of this NFT price and the actual sale price are like, it's like a multiple of like 7 or something. It's like, you can really go deep there and like, but yeah, I'm looking forward to what you come up with, and I think it's badly needed because we would definitely try to like, we would need to like at some point clarify the data. I don't know if that's the right word. But basically, like if you look at the chart on the right, where it's like daily total NFT US dollar volume, it's like we need to make sure that like there's an easy way to filter out these trades from LooksRare, where it's like where it's probably a wash trade. And we've seen like some simple approaches on Dune. Maybe can you open up that dashboard real quick, because I think this is like an interesting thing to consider. Like how do you actually work with the data? Oh, I don't know. Probably just search for wash trade.
I think it was in training quite a bit, so that's why. Yeah, that's what you mean, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So this, yeah.
Yeah,
this
you want to go over it? Yeah.
Yeah, I can explain. So this user tried to section, try to do what I'm trying to do, which is section sales into real volume and non-real volume. And the way to do this, I actually shared a query. I shared it with someone who shared it on Twitter, but I didn't actually share it myself. But I shared a query where I tracked the volume based on trades that had royalty payments and trades that didn't. And yeah, I just shared this, and then this is just that put into a table, I think, where there's the zero royalty volume, which is this one, and the assumption, I'm guessing, and I have the same, is that the global volume with royalty is less likely to be a wash trade, because if you want to do a wash trade, you want to avoid as much as possible to pay royalties, especially since the goal, or at least that's again an assumption, but the goal of wash traders is to do those at the very high volume to get the most reward out of it. So the higher the royalty, even if it's a small percentage, it scales up quite a bit. So to a lot of ETH when you do big trades. Yeah. So the assumption here is that the royalty-free volume is more likely to be a wash trade. But the way this is done is taking the 5 projects, full projects, which are 5. Meebits, Loot, the end project, Terraform, and CryptoFunks, and seeing their volume and comparing it to the others' volume. But I think this is quite inaccurate because not necessarily all trades on those, first of all, are wash trades. But that's I think under the assumption you should have when you're reading this. But also actually now, I think pretty sure the end project quickly, like a few hours after launch or like a day or two after launch, they enabled royalties. So that's not actually entirely true to say all their volume is wash trades, because then it only was at the start. But once they enabled the royalties, you can assume that wash trades were less of a thing on this collection. And CryptoFunks, they're doing something super weird. I have no idea what's going on. But they enabled royalties on LooksRare. I thought the whole point of it was to not have royalties, but that's I have no idea what's going on. But they enabled on Monday. I think they enabled royalties, and then there was a huge volume going into LooksRare for CryptoFunks. That's because users didn't actually know they enabled royalties. So there's a ton of ETH. I think that was the biggest reward day, and there's a ton of ETH that flew into just stakers because CryptoFunks were trying to wash trade, but didn't actually know they were just paying stakers.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, there's so many. I think that's one of the, like, maybe we can go to like what is it like to be an analyst in space, and like how insane of a job it is really, because like look at what kind of information like we talked about just like in the last half hour, and like how insanely switched on you need to be basically to like to get all of this context, to like follow all of these developments. And I guess like how do you manage to keep up with everything?
I think as an analyst, you kind of have a responsibility on you have to be responsible for your data, right? You have to own up to it. And I've shared data that was inaccurately done before, and my goal is to, whenever either I see it or someone DMs me and say, "Hey, this is actually a little weird. Can you look into it?" I'll try to like straight away correct it, because I don't want to share bad data, because then people use it and then just wrong. That's just not something I want to get into. But so I think you have a responsibility, and especially as your kind of influence grows. So I'm looking into trying to be more and more careful on what I share. But the thing is, with Dune, all my queries are public. So I often have stuff that I'm working on that is in my query, and then I'll see it on Twitter. Like I'm actually working on it, and then I'll see the data shared on Twitter, which is like not finished at all. And yeah, or even just people like starting to favorite those queries while I'm working on them.
Yeah,
So I mean,
that's
thank
not
you.
good.
I appreciate it, but I only ever like the ready. I will only ever consider the data ready when it's in a dashboard. Otherwise, there's a reason why it's not shared. Either it was someone who asked me, "Hey, can you quickly put this together?" That's a different story. But most of the time, it's just either I have a ton of queries that have a parenthesis WIP. That means you shouldn't look into those. That's just work in progress that I probably never look back onto, or I'll look back onto.
I see.
So yeah. So I'm trying to do this same analysis that was done here, but I want to go deeper than just royalties. I think royalties is part of the picture and definitely a way to filter out the volume. But I think it's one amongst many I've thought about. For example, watch traders often, or at least it's easy to assume that an NFT with a high volume sale that's going between two wallets back and forth on the same day, that's kind of suspicious. So I'm looking into also filtering those out, seeing okay if a buyer and a seller are trading the NFT, but on the same day I'm seeing the same NFT being traded the other way around, then I'm gonna assume this is a wash trade. So these are two assumptions. Then I also have another one that is how high is the sale of median or floor price for the collection. You have rarity, so there's high sales in all collection. I mean, in a lot of collections. But if it's absurd and like I don't know a 5,000x or even more, sometimes it's just very suspicious. I think the me bits that traded for, you can see here actually. Wait,
like 17 million, right?
Yeah, there's no, not here. So yeah, there's like the top two sales now are like most top sales now is just dominated by me bits. That's just what wash sales. There's no one has valued an NFT as this much yet.
Yep.
I don't think. I wish for a me bits holder that was the case, but I don't think so. And you can also see that, well, if you look at these three, that's the same wallet. So and also here the same wallets. So I need to filter this out because, well, this is actually just almost the same wallet everywhere. So you can see this ending in 89 for number 234 and the seller side is the same as the buyer side on the number one, but also yeah, it's actually all the same wallet. So that's just whoa, okay, yeah. Okay, that's much deeper than I thought. Okay, so the top 25 sales, that's just one guy transacting between two wallets for his.
He didn't even like do any effort. Like it's just two wallets trading with each other. But I mean, it's profitable. Like it's just like not to blame the guy. It's just up to us to basically like implement a like wash trade column into NFT.trades and just be like true or like a boolean basically, like false or true. and figure that out. But that's it's like as like analysts, like we are always like running behind the curve basically. Like there will never be a point where we are like ahead of the curve, because like it wouldn't just wouldn't make sense, because we are like retroactively looking at things, or like looking at things live, but we can never like predict what's gonna happen next. So
you can have
always
an estimated forecast, but yeah, I agree with you're working with historical data, and you can only work with what you have up until now, and it takes time to analyze, so you're always a bit behind.
That was really like, I think like if anyone didn't know like what LooksRare and stuff was about, like they can watch this and be very sure like what's actually happening. So yeah, thanks for all of these cool insights. And like how how do you like, do you like, I'm not trying to get financial advice from you obviously, but like if you like if you like ape into something, I don't even want to say make investments. It's like do you use Dune to like do your due diligence, or is that like a part of like let's say for example you want to buy like Ohm now, like would you actually like look at the dashboards? Is that something that you regularly do?
Yes. Yeah, because there's the surface data that's known, and like token prices, and just super easy to find data. But then there's more to every protocol, and I think that's the beauty of Dune, is just to kind of expose that and make it easily available. Wait, gonna look into an example. Okay, actually, it's a popular token, so I can look into that. There's some broken queries, but I'll fix that later. But yeah, there's just for sushi. There's loads of stuff to analyze. And that's really quite a big dashboard. So you can look into, for example, so I have all the main metrics up top. Then you have the trading volume as well as the trading price. That's just historical, but you can see sale volume by volume. That's not really useful, but I had fun making it. And you can find that if you go on other platforms like Dex Tools and stuff like this, where it's much easier to look into. Then you have the market cap. It's just, I think a lot should be considered. I'm not giving any financial advice or anything. I'm not like never will. But just make sure you do your own research and actually look into everything you can and consider all the things there is available.
Yep.
Because I used to, for example, I had some projects I invested before, but didn't realize that the supply was actually increasing at a dramatic like rate, and basically my share of the supply was just decreasing over time. And I think that's very important to know. For example, there's this, then there's stuff like understanding how if there's staking involved, or like you might as well stake if you're invested in a project and it has this option. So just make sure to consider everything. This chart, I like it because it's a nice overview I built, but it's like trying to see where the supply is distributed based on all the known addresses and contracts. This one I like to look into, not just for sushi. I'm just using this as an example, but then there's also the number of holders over time. That's also pretty cool to look into. The distribution amongst holders, that's nice, and I think it's important to see that a protocol is well distributed rather than kind of centralized into a few addresses. Then there's I have the same for sushi and XSushi because staking thing. This I really like this chart. I think it looks cool. But this is the like from all the known addresses I could find for all exchanges.
Oh wow.
Whether central exchanges or decentralized exchange. I think there's like 150 addresses. That was kind of a pain to look through, but I have like 150.
Do you have them as like a CTE statement in that query?
Yes, it's
Holy
all
shit.
if. So yeah, this is
okay.
all if statements.
That's
yeah,
that's quite a query. Wow.
Yeah. So that was a bit of research, but I
Yeah.
think it's interesting to see how the supply flows in and out of exchanges. But also here, the thing is, not all data is publicly available in the sense that I I can't find, and I don't think anyone has found a way to actually track, for example, Coinbase, which is probably the leading exchange, or at least in the top three. And they're just really good at kind of shuffling the transactions around in a way that makes it super hard to track. So if someone has an idea, I'll gladly add it. But it's what I can find, and it's everything that I think is known. Yeah, so I try to explore what's explorable and what I can see.
Yeah.
And then this one was a bit of a annoying to put together, but that's just the change of inflow and outflows into exchange ranked on the current holdings. You have yesterday you have the based on 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. But it's just this chart over there comparing to over time and how it was before.
Do the exchange addresses actually stay the same, or like are you like you probably can't like, because like if they change, like this sounds like a very high maintenance dashboard.
So yeah, it's a case by case thing. I know, for example, Binance has most of the way I get out of this is almost always Etherscan, because that's protocols will usually label them on there.
Yep.
Binance, for example, has, I think last time I checked, like 16 or 18 different addresses, but they're labeled Binance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to whatever, and they gradually add new ones. So technically, to maintain it, I need to add new addresses. I used to do this, but now I have just a lot of work, so I can't maintain it as much as I would like to. But if I ever get someone DMing me and seeing that they use it, I'll get on it right away. I think.
I see. That's maybe a thing that we could like solve as a community as well, or like that Team Dune should be able to solve as well. So, respect for even like building this. Like it seems like a pretty intense undertaking. So I like what like comes to mind here is like, obviously if you had cross-chain queries, like all of this data would even be like even cooler. Like especially like the volume against market cap or like volume against price query at the top. I think that would really look differently if we had like more chains, or if you could even combine the data from like what we have, like Polygon and Ethereum. That's hopefully coming.
Protocol.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for cross-chain queries. That would be super cool. And there's a lot of protocols where, or just, I mean, queries, whatever, not protocol, but queries where it would be useful. I can't remember which ones, but I think I have some dashboards where I'm looking into stuff, and I have to make two charts, one for Ethereum and one for Polygon. Having those combined would be really cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. Engineers, listen. No, we are totally aware of this, and we're working on it as hard as we can, pretty much. I guess we've talked for an hour and 8 minutes. If there's questions from the chat, I don't want to keep everyone here forever. Chat for events. No questions. It's
you also have the channel. You can, if you don't want to.
Yeah, if you don't like, you can't unmute yourself anyway. So drop your drop your questions in the chat, or you can also write like, hey, please let me talk. Then we'll happily get you up here. Oh, I've server muted Frederick. Hildobby is a legend. Yeah, I agree.
Thanks. Thank you.
I guess like What else? What else questions do I have? Like, what is like your biggest challenge of working on Dune at the moment?
Well, I always have stuff that can be improved. Do you want me to dump all the things you want?
Oh no, no, DM me those things. Like I don't know, just like on a like I don't know, like what would be your favorite
Like personal.
new feature that we should add like tomorrow?
I think one cool thing is, okay, I'm going to jump back to showcase this. I'm going to jump back to here's the this dashboard. I forgot to mention, but these charts instead of I had a lot of requests. Hey, can you show this? I only want to see the past 6 months. I want to see the past 3 months, whatever. So I added drop downs up there where you can actually change for the daily charts and for the weekly charts here the time interval that is shown. So if I look back on the let's say the past 6 months here, and I change this, I don't know, to a year, and I apply through Dune's magic, it should load all these accordingly. So that's the daily and the weekly.
Yep.
The monthly I'm leaving to overall because for now there's just not enough month for it to be. There's no need for it to be like showing fewer months because
Yep.
there's just I don't know. But yeah, these actually you can change, and I would really like for the ability to actually the parameters to edit titles. So as in right now, you can only know if you look up there that I'm looking at 1 year and 6 months, but I would like, if possible, to have like daily, and then in the subtitle saying like parenthesis one past year or
Yeah.
just based on the query, you know. So
Interesting.
so available ability to edit the title, the subtitle. Yeah, I think that would be really cool for what I want to show, and because those kind of queries are often screenshotted, and then I like to put as much context on them as possible, so that when they're screenshotted, like people know what they're looking into when they're shared on Twitter, rather than having only the guy who's sharing it shape his story. I want to make sure that like the thing is what it actually is kind of engraved into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally see what you're saying. Basically, like don't lose the context. And yeah,
Yeah.
I've struggled with this before. I'm always calling them like last end time units or something. It's like it would be
Yeah.
nicer if you could just display like the actual like chart interval or whatever you're choosing. And probably like would also be useful if you could just move them down there. Like
Yeah, that's also something. Yeah, move
yeah,
them around and.
yeah. It's
But
on
I
our
mean,
list. It's on our list.
I think like there's a lot of things. Obviously, you can improve. You can always improve. But
Yeah.
you guys also have a like super fantastic tool, and so yeah, it's like already a really cool tool. You can improve it all you want, but it's already really great. So I'll keep
Yeah.
on using it for sure.
Yeah. Maybe as the last question for today, what would you recommend for someone like who's seen this, like he's like impressed by your work, like how would they get to where you are today? Like I guess you've touched upon this like a bit at the beginning, but like maybe like more on a
Yeah,
conceptual, spiritual, like whatever level.
I think you need to understand one thing. Like I do some. There's some dashboards I do based on what I see the community wants. So, for example, I saw a discussion, I think 2 weeks ago, where Bored Apes were about to overtake CryptoPunks. So I just went and made a dashboard. If it's yes, maybe that's me. Yeah, that's me. Okay, so I made a dashboard all about this and shared on Twitter the actual data so people can track it. And you can actually see the floor, compare the two and everything. And I think that's a good way to get your name out there is if people want to see something, make it and actually share it. And I think you will be useful. The more you share, that is good information, that is contribution. The more you contribute to the space, the more you'll get recognition, and the more people will actually kind of look into like if they need something, they'll ask you, and you'll be more important in the space, I think. And I think that's what I would recommend, is just sharing what you think you want to see and others want to see.
Yeah, following the daily trends on crypto Twitter, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I totally agree. That was a big part of my strategy at the beginning as well. So yeah, yeah. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for being such an awesome Dune Wizard. It's really amazing to see what you come up with, like pretty much every week. And you are always like you are always the fastest to react to all of these trends, and it's really we appreciate you a lot. Thanks for coming on. I think was there questions? Please don't. Like I've started my end speech.
There's a request to have Danner in the podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. I haven't seen any questions, and yeah, keep rocking, and yeah, we'll keep chatting.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for hosting. It was great.
Thank you, Dobby.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Bye.
All right. See you guys.